This question is for Carlos Condit. Carlos, how do you see your fight going down with Nick Diaz? Both of you guys have fan-friendly styles. How do you see it going down?
Well, I get, I expect a war. Honestly, Nick is probably the toughest dude that I've ever fought, and he's well-rounded. He has a pretty dynamic skill set, and it's pretty similar to me. We both come to fight, and no matter who wins between Nick and myself, the fans are going to win because it's going to be a phenomenal fight.
And the same for Nick.
Well, I'm sorry.
How do you see your fight going down with Carlos Condit?
I got to get out there and fight, and then we'll see. That's all I can say about that.
And Dana, a question for you. Both these fighters have earned a title shot. I mean, he was a Strikeforce champion, and he's climbed the ranks. Carlos, do you think, regardless of the outcome, eventually they'll fight GSP?
Yeah, no, it's a fact. It will happen. Whoever wins this fight, and we were saying earlier, depends on how long George's recovery is going to be, will either defend their title once or wait to fight George St. Pierre. But yes, that will absolutely happen.
Right here from Mexico, that's for Fabricio. How does it feel to return to the UFC after beating Fedor and after losing with Overeem?
Feels great. I'm very happy because I'm come back with UFC, guys. I'm just show the Saturday night. I'm a good fighter. I'm just say thank you, Dana, for the opportunity. Thank you, guys.
All right, question for Josh over here. Josh, before the Matt Hughes fight, it seemed like you were very much leaning towards moving up to 185. Why have you put that move on ice, at least for now?
I think that after the Hughes fight, everybody was tied up. Diaz was fighting somebody, and Carlos was fighting somebody. I mean, pretty much everybody was tied up. So there was really nobody in the division that really stood out and said, "Oh, okay, I want to fight that guy." So I just want to take big fights and get the opportunity to go up and fight some of those guys would be an honor. I think that some of the guys I mentioned yesterday when we talked, would be fun, and I'm here to fight anybody, and I want to fight the best guys, and I think 170's just got interesting now, with George being out and and this whole mix-up over here. So I think that with Nick coming back into the division, it makes it for a better division for me to stay at and get focused on making another run at that title.
And there have been some high-profile losses coming out of your camp, the AKA team. Kane in November, John just a couple of weeks ago. What is the mood like there now? Of course, Luke looked very good in Strikeforce. King Mo had a win, but what's the mood like there now?
I'm not there now, so I'm here. So I don't focus on that stuff. I'm a different breed. It's 100% me. And I told all those guys, I was like, hey, it's not Team AK, it's Team me. So I don't associate with that, and it happens. Every camp loses. So for that, I distanced myself and focused on myself.
A couple more, one from Mike over here. This is your first time fighting on pay-per-view since your loss to John Fitch, which was 2+ years ago. Why do you think it's taken you so long to get this shot again?
I've just been trying to fight my way back to the top, and finally got my opportunity. With GSP out, left a guy like Josh Koscheck without an opponent, and I asked for it and got my opportunity. So I'm just happy to be back on the main card and going in to do my thing on Saturday.
And just one last one for Fabricio. Do you pay attention to the stuff we've seen lately? A lot of the Strikeforce fighters come over to the UFC, like Nick Diaz, like Alistair Overeem. Last week we saw LeVar Johnson do very well. They're almost like the anti-Pride now. All the Strikeforce guys are doing great in the UFC. Do you look at that stuff, and does that motivate you, since you are coming over to the UFC from Strikeforce?
Yeah, for sure I'm motivation now, because now I just have a weight here in UFC. Because before it's split, a lot of guys there in Strikeforce, best good guys there here too. But now everybody the same division here. Just everybody try the show the best in the world.
This question is for Nick. Nick, did watching your brothers fight against Donald Cerrone give you confidence, given that stylistically this matchup might be kind of similar?
I think that's just a complete different fight. I think stylistically it's kind of the same, a little bit of the same scenario, but we're all different fighters.
Just a question for Roy. Can you walk us through when you were first offered the fight with Fabricio? What went through your mind, and how do your skills match up with his skills?
I think when I got the phone call, or actually it was talked to Lorenzo. Lorenzo told me about a month and a half ago. So that's when I think we all found out about Strikeforce guys coming over. Thought it was very interesting that all the heavyweights are now under one roof. For me as a fighter, I just want to fight the best in the world, and now we all have them. As how do I compare with Fabricio? Fabricio dethroned, Fedor, who was undefeated for 10 years. And then he actually outstruck the K1 champion in Overeem his last fight. So I think I have my hands full, and I think Saturday it's going to be awesome.
Roy, could I ask you to follow up on that? We just watched Alistair Overeem destroy Brock Lesnar. Fabricio's beaten Alistair Overeem, and he went 3 rounds with him in his last fight. Do you feel like that Fabricio is one-dimensional just off of his back and on the ground, or are you fearing this stand-up at all? Do you respect that side of his game?
Like I said, when Fabricio fought Overeem, he actually beat him in the stand-up. And then he was just trying to lure him down to the ground so he could tap him out like he did the last time. I think that's pretty much what it is. I think his game plan just didn't work out. If he would have just kept it standing, I think Fabricio would have beat Overeem and probably be fighting Junior right now.
My question's for Nick. Dana mentioned the success of the primetime show. Are you happy that the fans and the people have gotten to see an inside of your life?
It's fine. I just I don't mind doing a primetime show or build up or doing extra press or people coming to film me, as long as it's done right and as long as it's not, generic or something. It looked great and I felt great and everything seemed to go good, so I was happy with it.
Take one more question.
Dana, could I get you to comment on the, obviously it's slightly away from the UFC and mixed martial arts, but on the comment on the death of Angelo Dundee overnight. Obviously you grew up as a huge boxing fan. I just wonder what your thoughts are on his passing. On Angelo Dundee, yeah.
He lived a long, great life, did a lot of amazing things, and it's always sad when you wake up one day and you hear that stuff on the news. And I actually had the opportunity to meet him a few years ago, and he was a great guy and had tons of great stories and has lived an amazing life doing what he loved to do. All right, let's get a couple fans, whoever wants to ask some questions. And you know the ground rules. Don't ask me for tickets or anything like that. I'll be tweeting them on Friday. So stick it to fight-related questions. Go ahead, buddy.
Just a question for Nick Diaz, please. Nate is possibly one fight away from getting a title shot if he beats Jim Miller, and you're fighting for the interim belt now. What would it mean to you if the two of you were champions together in the UFC?
Can you ask me that again, please?
He said that Nate is probably one fight away from getting a shot at the title. How big would that be for the two Diaz brothers to be champions in the UFC at the same time? Two different weight classes.
Yeah, that's what we're working towards. That's the idea.
You had a great time in Chicago. You know the rules. No, can't pictures. Just don't pictures.
What do we got? A screening process going on over there?
Oh, hello, Dana.
What's your question, man? What do you got?
I had a good time in Chicago last week, man. So I'm glad to be back here. So
thank you. That was it? Yep. All right. Nice to meet you, brother.
Hi. Question for Fabricio. As far as Roy having a really solid right hand, how do you plan on dealing with such a powerhouse in your stand-up?
Roy Nelson is tough, guys. He show for everybody, have a lot of knockouts. I know he have a strong hand, but I have a strong hand too, for sure. I'm just have a good game. I'm have a good, smart game for a Saturday.
My question's for Nick Diaz. Nick, on the primetime show, you talked about how in order to be as successful in MMA as you are, you have to love the sport so much that you hate it. Could you maybe just explain that mentality to me?
It's not. That's pretty much says it all. What I said. That's what I meant. You know, and that's what that means.
This one's for Werdum. How does it feel to have Orlando Sanchez and Master Rafael in your corner? Do you feel prepared for Roy Nelson the way you should, especially with a guy like Orlando Sanchez who's so powerful and ready to get on top of you? Do you feel you're ready for this fight thanks to Orlando and Master Rafael, or what is it about those two that brought you to feel prepared in the first place?
I have a good camp. I'm training for 3 months for the fight. Orlando helped me a lot. I have a good joke in the gym. It's Orlando Sanchez, but I say Orlando Nelson, the nickname. He helped me a lot. He have 206 pounds, like Roy Nelson. He helped me a lot. For sure, I'm very happy for the camp. I'm just show guys in Saturday night.
All right, thank you guys. We're gonna get this stuff out of here. I will square these guys off for photo ops. I want to thank all the press for coming today. Thank all the fans. We appreciate you very much.